What's going on, you guys? My name's Ty Knotts, and welcome to Top 5 Unknowns, 5 ransom notes with chilling backstories. Number 5. John Getty III was the grandson of John Getty, the billionaire who founded the Getty Oil Company as well as Getty Images. Despite his immense wealth, this guy was an extreme cheapskate. In fact, he went as far as installing a payphone in his guest bedroom so that they wouldn't use his landline for free. No penny would leave his palm without much of a struggle. Despite his nature, he'd married 5 wives and had 5 sons, with one of them being John Paul Getty III. Getty III lived in Italy after his father's divorce, and while on his stay there, he wanted to enjoy his life to its fullest. However, fate had other things in mind. On July 10, 1973, Getty III went missing. 2 days later, a letter was mailed to his mother which stated, "Dear Mommy, since Monday I've fallen into the hands of kidnappers, don't let me get killed." There's also a ransom note asking for $17 million for his release. Now, Getty III often joked about staging his own kidnapping to squeeze some extra money out of his grandfather, so this kidnapping was taken fairly lightly. However, after just 2 months of silence, a letter containing an ear and a flock of hair, which had all been cut from Getty III, were mailed to a local newspaper. This then set things in motion. A picture of his disfigured face was then also sent to the family and other newspapers as well. However, John Getty Sr. was still not willing to hand over the money. In fact, he talked to the kidnapper and brought the price down to $3 million, though he was still unwilling to pay it. In the end, he loaned the money to his son, John Getty II, at a 4% interest rate, with Getty II then transferring the money over to the kidnappers. Number 4. A series of murders occurred between June of 1945 and January of 1946. All of these victims were women, excluding a 6-year-old girl. Also, all of the victims were decapitated in a similar fashion, which pointed out that one person was likely responsible for all of this. On June 5th, 1945, Josephine Ross was stabbed to death in her apartment with her head wrapped in a skirt. And on December 11th of that same year, Frances Brown was also stabbed to death, and her head was wrapped in a towel. At the scene of this crime, the supposed killer left a note stating, "For heaven's sake, catch me before I kill more. I cannot control myself." Almost a month later, a 6-year-old Susan Degnan was reported missing, and the investigators found a ransom note which read, "Get $20,000 ready and wait for the word. Do not notify FBI or police. Bills in 5s and 10s. He was then paid the ransom, but the girl was found dead just a short while later. The killer was finally caught on June 26, 1947, as a 17-year-old William Herons heard someone trying to break into an apartment. Later at trial, he was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. Number 3. In December of 1996, a 6-year-old beauty queen, John Bennett Ramsey, went missing right after attending an event with her parents. After looking all around for the girl, the parents went home where they found a very chilling note. The 2.5-page handwritten note said, "Mr. Ramsey, listen carefully. We are a group of individuals that represent a small foreign faction. We respect your business, but not the country it serves. At this time, we have your daughter in our possession. She's safe and unharmed, and if you want to see her again, you must follow the instructions on this letter," with the note continuing to request a large sum of money in exchange for the girl's life. The family agreed, and the ransom money was handed over. However, what the family didn't expect was to find their daughter's deceased body in the basement, with some reports stating that she likely passed away before the ransom was even requested. What's even worse is that no one had been formally convicted of the murder. In fact, her parents were even taken to court for putting their daughter in a compromising situation and in way of harm. They were at one point even charged with the murder, but they were acquitted after DNA tests confirmed that they were not involved. To this day, police are still looking for the murderer of this heinous act. Number 2. Nathan Leopold and Richard Loeb were 2 young lovers who each came from rich families. Leopold had a genius IQ level and had graduated college before he was even 20 years old. Though the couple eventually grew bored of their ordinary lives. They wanted a thrill desperately, and to fill this void, they went out many nights and tried their hand at robbery and even arson. One evening while taking a ride to school after their nocturnal robbery of a typewriter, they decided to push their thrill even further by committing the perfect murder. They spent months discussing this and found the perfect victim. One of Richard's cousins, Bobby, was selected. Since Bobby came from a rich family, his uncle would surely be able to pay the $10,000 ransom that they'd come up with. But what they didn't factor in was that Bobby was going to put up a fight. After they lured the boy to their car, Richard tried to knock Bobby out with a blow to his head, but failed. Even after 3 additional hits to the forehead, he was still perfectly conscious. The fourth stroke, however, fractured his skull and dug a deep hole into his head, but even after this, Bobby still did not stop. Nathan in turn jammed a rag deep inside of Bobby's throat as far as possible, and the boy finally lost consciousness and passed away. They disposed the body several miles away south of Chicago and put the typed letter in a letterbox, which reached the father at around 8 the following morning. However, police were able to trace the murder back to the two men, since Nathan's pair of sunglasses fell off as they were disposing of the body. 10 days later, the two confessed to the murder and were convicted at court, where they managed to escape the death penalty. Number 1. Annie Laurie Herron was the wife and college sweetheart of Robert Herron and was kidnapped after hosting a party at Annie's home. After much investigation, the police discovered that there was a blood smear on the floor and a ransom letter that demanded Mr. Herron pay 12 businessmen a large sum of money, including one Newton Alfred Wynn, who happened to be an attorney. The note said that they would seal Annie in a cellar with only a few jugs of water and then leave her for dead. With this, Robert promptly paid close to $1 million to secure her release, though this never happened. The kidnapping was so clean that even the FBI could not secure Annie's release or even her body. This broke Robert down, and just 2 years later he died of heart-related issues. However, 19 months after her abduction, the federal jury found Mr. Wen, the aforementioned attorney, guilty of plotting for Annie's kidnapping, sentencing him with one count of extortion and another for perjury. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to click that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep updated with our videos.